All right, good afternoon. How you guys doing? All right, we're going to talk, ignore the Cleveland B-sides up there. Our updated ones are over there, but we'll get through it. Powershell, drink the Kool-Aid. How many people in here use Powershell? Oh, yes. Nice. How many guys went to Ben 10's talk? Anyway? Yes. Good. Normally when I give this talk, there's very few people in the room that use PowerShell or understand PowerShell, so I do a lot of basic stuff, so I can skip all that. That's good. We'll get through here. All right, so our agenda, we're going to talk about system administration versus security administration, why to use PowerShell, an overview, and we're going to talk about scripts that you can use for system administration, incident response, compliance, and we're really going to get into modules. Any guys write modules? A few. Good. All right, so what this is not is intended to make you a programmer, where I'm not going to take you step by step like Ben 10 did. I'm not going to do a deep dive. It's not going to make you an expert, and I'm not affiliated with Microsoft in any way, even though I love a lot of their products. All right, so a little bit about us. My name is Wayne. Anybody seen us talk before? Anybody? Okay, a couple. Zack, this is not Zack.
Yeah, this is Justin.
This is Justin. Zack couldn't make it. He had a family emergency. He's a little shorter, bearded guy that's really loud and hyper. He's not here.
Lots of curse words.
Yeah, he cusses constantly. So he's not here. Justin's going to take his place. I'm started out as the lead developer for Hardbit Solutions. You can see I got a whole bunch of certs. But I'm mainly Windows-based. Justin is more Linux, Python-based. So we'll do some stuff with Python and PowerShell towards the end. All right. You guys you guys see Ed's keynote? He talked about the red team learning more about ops, and so that they can understand the defensive side and making their reports more readable to the ops side. I kind of go the other way. I think the SAs, system administrators, need to learn more about security, so that they understand why they're doing things they're doing on their systems, why they put in certain controls, because a lot of times it's just, hey, do this, and they're like, no, that'll break my application. It works fine as it is. I'm not doing it, because they don't understand the security piece. So I think there should be more secure administrators, not really system administrators. So in order to get there, I'm trying to teach them PowerShell. You can use PowerShell to not just do your defensive stuff, your system administration, but you can do security stuff as well. Why PowerShell? Why do you guys use PowerShell? It's everywhere, right? It's easy. It's easy to use. If you have Windows in your environment, PowerShell's already there. It's got a lot of built-in stuff, very easy to use. You can make tools, you can reuse them across your entire enterprise. It's there. It's native, saves you time, saves you money. Do remote administration, you can control it through group policy. It's time to just learn it. I don't know why people are so hesitant. So just drink the Kool-Aid, start using PowerShell. It's time to just take that step. All right. So this is the basic stuff I'll blow through real quick because you guys went to Ben 10. You don't need a book. It's verb noun. Get help. Get command. Get help about whatever. You guys need to learn how to do a function. Get help about _ functions. Tells you exactly how to do it. Gives you a whole bunch of information. You guys can learn. You don't need books. Simple stuff like I need to know what processes are running. Get process. Verb noun. Then you can take it, you can pipe it. Everybody knows what pipe does. Takes the output from the first statement, sends it to the next started statement. So here you can see get process. Now we're going to sort it, descending. Then we're going to select the top 10. I mean, you can make really long commands. It's very easy. All right, so for administrators, get hotfix. Why would you need that? Patching. How do most administrators find out what patches are installed? Huh? How many clicks does it take to go and find out what pay? I type get hotfix, boom, it gives them all to me. Let's see. Where'd it go?
Yeah, scroll down. There it is. Just threw it on the desktop.
All right. I'm in get hotfix. Let's see. How patched is your system?
It's patched.
Okay. There we go. Bam. Then you can go get hotfix, pipe, where, KB equals, whatever. And you can really start looking for specific patches. You want to see if your patches, the new IE patches are on there. You can look specifically for those KBs. So it's really easy. Let me go up here. Let me grab. Got a bunch of demos. So let me.
Yeah, it's off the desktop.
Some of the stuff you guys probably already do or know. Just open up all these. All right, you guys use ISE or do you use the console? ISE, it's easy, right? Oops. You got a mouse, man. All right, so hot fixes. All right, what about local account information? Does SAs need to know that? Anybody created a new account? What was that? 5 lines of code? Oops. Oh, I got to change it. Change my out. You guys know this, set your execution policy. Don't use unrestricted, but yeah, we use that. Now what?
Remote sign.
Did I spell it right? Set. Oh. Hold on.
Yeah.
I didn't open as administrator, that's why. This 10-year-old machine is taking forever. All right.
Good enough for me.
All right, now let's try it. All right. I use out grid view for demonstration. You guys, you can run all your commands, and at the end you can do pipe out grid view. It pops this nice little window up. It's sortable. You can scroll if it has a whole lot of information. You can do export CSV, export it to whatever. So it's really easy. So you can get account information, system inventory. You guys can run that and get all your system information. Do you guys have scripts for all this stuff? You've written them in PowerShell, so you know how easy this is. All right. So I won't go through all these. This is good. All right, log review, your event logs. You guys do a lot of that. Parse your logs, grab certain event IDs, look to see if somebody is logged in multiple times and in so many seconds. Same accounts failed. All these scripts, I won't go through them all. They're all on our website. You can go download them. So system administration, you can do some cool stuff. Incident response and analysis, forensics type stuff. We have scripts for grabbing all your restore points, file information. You guys write scripts for this? You guys want to see these? No? Okay. Gather MRUs. What are MRUs? Most recent used items. You pull all this stuff, throw it in CSVs. Compliance. Anybody have to deal with compliance?
Yeah.
I mean HIPAA, PCI, NIST, whatever. What do they say? Well, what roles are on the server? What local groups? What users have privileged rights? You can do all this stuff with PowerShell. So, now, we've gone through all those easy scripts. You guys have probably written a bunch of them. So, we figured out in the last year, we wrote over 400 scripts. And we were giving them to SEs, and I give them the script, and this guy would run it, and this guy would run it, and they'd come back and say, well, your script doesn't work, it's a piece of junk. I'm like, well, what did you do? Nothing, it just doesn't work. Well, I said, okay, so all my scripts, I started adding a hash. So when the script would run, it would hash the script file, and it would output that into their CSV or their screen or whatever. So then when they call me and they say, your script's broke, I say, well, what hash showed up? They tell me the hash, and if it doesn't match my master hash, I'm like, you changed my script, kiss my ass. I'm not helping you. And they're like, no, I didn't do anything. Yes, you did, because the hash is different. You changed something. So that kind of alleviated that, but I still had all these scripts passed out everywhere. So we said, all right, we're going to write a module. We took all these scripts we had and we built them into a module, and then we use group policy and we push the module out to all our systems. So now the module's there, it's preloaded. Now all I have to do is tell them run these commands. So not too many people written modules. This is some of the stuff we built into this one. It's actually been updated. The newer one has more like 13 of them. But get your machine info, get uptime, reboot time. Anybody care when the last time our box was rebooted? It's pretty important. Pending reboot. You guys look at that? Why is that important? Yeah, but how do you determine if it's pending a reboot? There's like 6 different things you got to check. Anybody use enterprise tools like McAfee HBSS? Anybody ever heard of that one? That one constantly will cause your box to be pending a reboot. Constantly, it'll lock files. Even if all your patches are on there, when you get ready to do your patching, got to run the pending reboot and find out, because McAfee's probably got something that's pending a reboot first. And your installed software and USB device. All right, so let me. What time is it? Oh man, we're good. All right. So all these scripts. There it is. Sysadmin module. All right, so when you build a module, it's actually not very difficult to do. If you look up at the top, all we did was list the functions / commandlet / functional units. You guys know what those are? Actually, when they first made PowerShell, they were going to call, instead of a commandlet, it was a functional unit. So FUs. And they decided they would change that to commandlets. So in here we list all our functional units, our functions, and then we just we do a start. We just comment so it's easy to track in our module. Start function 1, and then you add this code block.
Is there any way you can make that font bigger?
Is it better? All right, so I'll go back up. So yeah, just at the top, we just listed the functions. Then we go down, we make a comment, start a function 1, function, whatever it is, get machine info, and then you add this block right here. synopsis, description, example, and you can put multiple examples. Now what this will do, this is all you have to do so that once this module is loaded, when somebody goes, get help for get machine info, you know, all that information that comes up is right there. You didn't have to do anything else. When you hit get dash help for get machine info, it's going to show you this information. Not very difficult, right? I didn't have to write like a whole man page. Just pretty simple. Then you go down and we add parameter computer name. I put this in all of them. The log path and the output file, that's if you want it or not. I always put the computer name. That way, you can always do dash computer name localhost or dash computer name and list out all the systems in your enterprise, or you can do dash computer name and feed it in a file. However you want to do it, I always add that one in. And then basically we just go down and you put your script in, whatever it is. Now, one of the nice things about building a module, if you add these two lines throughout your program, just throughout your script, write dash verbose and write dash debug, and then put in text. And I'll show you what will happen when I run the module later. It automatically adds debugging and verbose to your script automatically. You don't have to do a thing. You just add those two throughout your script, and verbose and debugging is automatically built in. Pretty simple, right? And you go down. And this is just all the script. This is a long one. And then we close the function, and then we do function 2. That's it. That's all there is to building a module. We have a template of this. It's not on our website yet. It will be probably tonight or by the end of the weekend. And this module is out there too, the updated one. So now you build a module. I'm going to rename this one just because it'd be easier. Desktop. I'm just going to rename it sysadmin so I don't have to type as much. All right, so now you've written your module. It's a PS1 or a PSM1 file. This is for a module. So now to load that, all you have to do is go to computers, C drive, Windows, System 32, Windows PowerShell, V1, modules, create a new folder, and give it the same name as your module. Capital A, it has to be syntax specific, has to be the exact same name as your module. Grab your file. Drop it in there. Now when you open up Power, make sure PowerShell is closed when you do that. Open it as administrator. Alright, so now you just go get dash module space dash list available. And look at there, there's my sysadmin module. Now I'm going to import it. Now when I go get dash command space dash module, those are all the commands available now to me. Not very difficult, right? So all these scripts that you have, instead of people using them or whatever, you build a module, push it out to that folder across your entire enterprise, and now all those commands are now available. So, and like I showed you before, so if we do get help on get uptime, there's that code, that comment block is right there. There's your help. Now, I didn't do anything except put some examples in, right? So now if I do the same thing, dash examples, bam, there's my examples. Did I write this man page? I didn't do anything, right? I just made one little code block. Now there's examples, there's help. It's all there. You can now pipe the results to export CSV, whatever, just like you can any other commands in PowerShell. What's that? Yes, once you import it under, yes.
You mean for new, I think you mean for new instances.
Oh, new instances?
You have to reinstall it. Yeah, every new instance you have to set.
Well, yes, but you can set up, you can set it up so that, for your profile, that when you log in, all these modules are automatically installed for you. So, I say it's persistent because that's how I do all my modules are automatically set up. What's that? Right, it's just for the session. Alright, so let me run get uptime dash computer name. Huh? No, this is localhost. And then remember I said I'm going to type in dash verbose. All I had was that right dash verbose. And you can see there, it's about to query localhost. All I added in the script was right dash verbose and whatever text I want to show up. If you want to do debug, remember all I put was right dash debug and my string. Now when I run it, it goes about to perform actions on localhost. Confirm, continue with this operation. Yes, no, or yes, halt, suspend, whatever you want to do. I didn't do anything to get it to do that, right? I had a right dash debug. So you can add a lot of functionality very easily with this. So.
Can you have multiple levels of verbosity?
What's that?
Can you have multiple levels of verbosity?
Or like different debug levels.
I don't know. I haven't tried it.
I did that for PCAT the Pi, but I don't know if you can do that just with.
Just natively in PowerShell. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll look into that. Yeah, any of the PowerShell guys here? No? Okay. Can you add multi-levels of verbosity to the module? Huh? I think that's it, but I'll look into it. I'm not sure.
Because if you handy, you could have like a program level, like level 0, and then inside of the function level 1, and
Right.
whatever.
Right. What time is it? All right, so 30 minutes. So everybody clear on this? Pretty simple. You got any questions on building a module? How to do it? Anything? Cool. All right, so what we'll get into now, we got a little bit of time. How many Python guys we got in here? 1, 2, 3. Okay, a few. All right, so if you guys haven't been to our website, if you go to it, you're going to see that we created a product that does compliance. Scans a Windows box, checks whether it's compliant with PCI, HIPAA, NIST, a whole bunch of standards. We wrote it 100% in PowerShell. That way it runs natively on the box, does all these checks. I'm not going to show you the product. But go check it out. It's pretty cool. So then we say, well, let's take it a step further. What if I'm in a Linux environment, but I want to do the same thing on Windows boxes. So Justin has written Python scripts that will basically use WinRM to hit Windows boxes and inject all the PowerShell code into it. So Python guys need to learn PowerShell too. All right.
All right.
So he's going to go through that a little bit and kind of explain what he did. A lot of it's the same exact commands you use just natively on Windows. He's just going to do it from a Linux box. Well, you're doing it from the Windows box, but it's using Python.
Yeah. And PCAT to Pi, it initially started out because we didn't have a tool that was originally intended for doing remote compliance evaluation against Red Hat and Red Hat derived operating systems that were not locally run, or they could be locally run, it doesn't matter. But when WinRM came out, that's when we decided to make a port of the PCAT application. And with that, that was a lot easier because all the finding, all the fixed code, everything was organized in a CSV already. So what was most of the work was actually just writing conversion programs to actually generate Python modules based on the compliance data out of the PCAT database.
Because we had all the PowerShell code already written.
Yeah.
We just had to do the Python wrapper.
And that was a huge leg up because with the Linux version, it was grinding it out by hand because it didn't have any existing data. So that went from late May all the way up to the beginning of July before that piece of it was done. The PCAT to Pi is organized with the philosophy of trying to emphasize simplicity, not having sections of code that are thousands of lines long. So no file should be any longer than a couple of pages by any means. It has to be that way. And it's also meant that it should be simple to understand and easy to extend. So that's where having it use PyWinRM and being used against Windows-based systems came into play. The software is organized in a classical architecture where there is a wrapper that is used to interface with the user to accept commands and switches based on what you want to do. And it also populates the finding modules that happen to exist. And what you're seeing right here is the source for it. It's not that much, so it won't take me long to kind of go over it. But it just starts out. There's a help page, just like with the module had. This version does have debug levels. It goes through 0 through 3. And 0, there'll be no output whatsoever except for the HTML that's generated. If you go with 1, it's very minimal, just showing the finding that happens to be processing at that time, and if it's compliant or non-compliant. And then with 2, it gives some description about the finding as it's going along. And if you go up to debug level 3, it'll actually return the standard out from the commands it's running remotely. So you can not only tell if a finding is compliant or not, but also the output that was used to decide why. And so that was very helpful in troubleshooting. The other switches that are present, you can have the same specifically, scan a finding or a series of findings with the find switch, or you can have it go after entire postures. So if you wanted to scan IE8 or RHEL 6 or Windows 7, 2008, R2, 12, it doesn't matter, just as long as it exists. The underlying basis that allows us to work is there is a module called Paramiko, which allows you to build SSH sessions in Python and actually connect to other systems based on SSH. So that's what's used for doing the RHEL side of the house. And then for everything Windows, PyWinRM is what's being used. Let's see. So since we were sticking with PowerShell, I'm not going to explain the SSH part of it. I'm just going to go to WinRM and then, the session, and then one of the findings modules so you can see what it looks like. And each of those modules, they all look the same. They're just, custom built based on what the fixed code and the check code is. So every PCAT session, or a PCAT to Pi session, it will always have some kind of CLI member to it. By default, if you do not specify an SSH switch or a WinRM switch, it assumes a local console. So that's what you get if you don't tell it anything else. With that, after that, there's a list of finding modules that are imported based on what you select, and that's what it loops through when it's checking the remote system. There's another member. If you're going to generate an HTML report, obviously that'll be populated. If it's not, then no report gets made. And then finally, the debug mode itself. So this is the method for setting the debug level, scan, remediate, and obviously the two CLIs. For the WinRM, because the CSV data is highly parameterized, particularly with the checks, the fixed code's a lot easier because you actually get the actual code to execute. But the checks themselves, it's based on a table of operators and what type of finding it has to be.
So when he's talking about the CSV data, what we did was we actually used PowerShell, but we used PowerShell to parse all the different standards, NIST, PCI, HIPAA. We parse all the data and we build one massive data set.
Yeah, it actually it's this.
Yeah, it looks like this. It's massive, and that's what gets used to generate all this code. So that when he keeps talking about the data set, that's where it came from.
Yeah. Now you saw it. Now it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's massive.
All right. So with the SSH CLI, it's pretty straightforward. All it allows you to do is just execute commands against bash, capture standard error, and then standard out. But with the WinRM, and based on the fact that all of the data for doing checks is parameterized, the console class for WinRM has a lot more inspection and mutation methods that go along with using system or PowerShell. So specifically, there are shell methods, one for doing just system calls only. Then there's a method for doing PowerShell calls. And then since the majority of the findings are actually registry quality operators with D words, I decided to put in inspection methods for querying the registry without having to actually specify the code to do so each time. So,
hold up right there.
Yep.
So you can see right here, basically from the parentheses on is where he's inputting the PowerShell code.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We'll try. You're looking at a couple words at a time. Yeah. Let's see what you got. How's that? Is that enough?
That's good.
Okay. Well, it starts getting astronomical. Here's 36. Yeah, that's probably a little much, but
All right.
all right, I'll take it back. Just squint.
Can you output in other formats like XML or SCAP?
Right now, the only formats that I put in is for the presentation class. I just had it generate the standard error that you would see with the different debug levels, and then also a basic HTML report that I'll show you.
And this is not yet complete. We're probably what 85%.
Yeah, we just did the methods for the registry, sec edit, and audit pool. So there's another 1,000 findings to add, but then after that, then comes the polishing for that.
So once we're done with this, we're going to release it. It'll be on our site, and you can actually get it, add to, extend it, change it, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
What's that?
Hard bit solutions.
Hard bit solution. We'll have a slide. We'll bring it up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going. So obviously, there's a method, an inspection method for D-word, Q-words, binaries, strings, multi-strings, and that's it. Here's audit poll, and finally sec edit. And done. Okay. All right. Here's a finding class itself. And every finding is a class definition that they all look very similar, and that's what actually is populated from the CSV data itself. And every finding will always have, init members for, verbose switch, output that gets generated, and if it's compliant or not. And you'll get to see there's titles, identification. Most of these are actually static methods that just return static text that get just shit out from the Excel and put straight in here. That's right. So optional methods are check and fix depending on what's populated in the CSV. So like in here, this one it's a get regd word, and if it's got if it's equal to 1. So this is where those methods came in play from the WinRM CLI object. So instead of typing out or having to put in the PowerShell command to do all that and get it out in a clean format, it's just calling the method that we had built earlier. Now for the fix code, this was already built, and I didn't feel like wanting to do mutation methods for that. So this was parsed directly from the CSV and just put in as CLI PowerShell commands.
You see it's straight PowerShell. It's exact. In this case, we're creating reg keys and setting them to whatever value they're supposed to be. And it's just new item dash path. It's exact PowerShell code you would use.
Yep.
So a lot of the Python guys, it's like, we're PowerShell.
Yeah.
So now you can manage your Windows boxes from your Linux boxes.
Yeah. The one thing to be aware of is be very careful with quoting, between strong and weak quoting, and especially with the presence of what could also be a escape sequence. Like with the text editor right now, it's seeing escape sequences all throughout here. So usually, particularly with fixed code, I'm always treating it as a raw string and saving single quotes for quotes actually within the command, because if those were regular quotes, they'd be stripped out of the string and you get syntactical errors coming back from PowerShell. But other than that, the rest of the 4,000 findings look pretty much just like this, just varying configuration, and also if they actually have fix methods. So that being said, PCAT2Pi has 2 modes. You can either put it in the scan mode, where it'll just audit the system and show what's open. And it also has a remediate, which will actually go and attempt to remediate those findings if the fix is something that's not subjective. So particularly like registry settings for IE, that's a good example. Those are objective fixes, and there's fix code for that. So with this command, this is telling, I'm going to launch PCAT2Pi, put it in scan mode. You can't see it, so there's WinRM switch and the password debug level set to 3, and I told it the posture for Windows 7, and that's going against a virtual machine on my 10-year-old laptop. So when it comes through there, particularly with the huge base of findings we have now, there's exception handling for invalid syntax for populated findings, and that's where those came up with. But this is what debug level 3 looks like, even though you probably can't read it.
All right. And basically what it's doing is running the PowerShell commands to do each check as it goes. Yep.
And I took the liberty of doing this beforehand so we could actually get HTMLs instead of waiting on this to finish. So earlier this morning at 11 o'clock, I had to generate the HTML reports for PCAT2Pi for scanning the same VM, same VM. And this was just doing the scan without remediating any findings, and this I can certainly raise. So, but with the report, it's pretty basic. I don't know that much HTML. It's just what I learned on demand to do this. So there's obviously a compliance column. Based on the severity, if it's a high, medium, or low, yellow will be low, medium would be orange, and high will be red. And with that ID, depending on which static methods were present in the particular finding module, you'll see the posture, group ID, hardbit solutions ID, and plus the information assurance standards from DoD 853 or ISO. And then on the details, you'll have a title plus some information about the finding, and then also the standard out that was returned based on what it found. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. And that's it. So there you go. Yeah.
So, like I said, we're not trying to make you guys programmers, developers. What we try to do with this whole presentation is to show you what you can do with PowerShell. How it's very easy. The built-in commands are there. Use them. You need to write scripts. It's very easy. Build modules, and then you can control your scripts. If you're a Linux guy, take PowerShell, run it from Linux. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. All we want to do is get you guys motivated to go out and learn it and start using it. Do you guys got any questions for us?
There it is.
Hardbitsolutions.com.
Zach likes beer.
And Zack likes beer. That's a brewery that he's part of. So.
For the modules, can you do add in there?
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, for the modules, can you put in there like get content and constantly point to a list of your machines, and then
Yes, yes, you could.
as well?
Yes. Yeah. You wouldn't put it in the module. It's when you run the command instead of the before you would like create a variable equals get content, pull it from there. And then when you run the command, you would do, get uptime dash computer name and then feed it that variable.
Yes, you in the back.
Yeah, so you said how much HTML. I love the HTML out PowerShell. How tough would that be to incorporate into like a script Linux that has good HTML out there?
Oh, to do HTML?
It's not. It's easy.
in
but
PowerShell. Yeah, I mean.
where that HTML is generated is in the context of the Python interpreter.
Yeah, the HTML he did. Yeah, doing HTML in PowerShell is easy, and it looks pretty good. Outputting to CSV is just export-CSV. If you want to go as far as building GUIs, putting front ends on your scripts,
It sucks.
it really, it's not too bad. If you know how to do it in .NET, you know how to do it in PowerShell. It's all the same stuff. If you really want to build GUIs, and I'm not promoting them or anything like that, Sapien, anybody ever heard of them? Sapien has a thing called PowerShell Studio. It's awesome. It's like, I don't know, $400 or something though. And it's drag and drop to build your GUIs, and then it generates all the PowerShell code on the back end. So, all right, anything else? All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I got business cards.